This is Your Place's Call. You're listening to Theatrical Thoughts. I'm Emily Wyra.
And I'm Jessica Fight.
And today we are joined by Jason SweetTooth Williams. Jason is best known for originating the roles of Mr. Here and Mr. Riaz in Be More Chill on Broadway.
Jason, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
Well, thank you for having me on, and I'm fine. I'm great. You know, I'm as good as weird weather summer pandemic life will allow. But all is good, and I'm glad to be here.
We are so glad to have you. And it is weird weather. We're all on the East Coast, and I'm like looking outside my window as if something's gonna change. It's just like very creepy out. It looks like bad's gonna happen, and I'm a little
there's like some like wicked vibes happening.
Right.
Yeah.
Before the overture, we're just getting some
exactly.
nice creepy winds over here.
Exactly.
It's a good thing for our Tuesday night.
Yeah, right.
I swear, if we lose power or anything during this podcast.
But it'll be like spooky. It'll be fun.
Spooky.
We should air this on Halloween's, because if we're going to get Halloween vibes.
So as always, we love to start off our show with our 60-second life story segment. So I'm going to start off my very official iPhone stopwatch. And Jason, you're going to give us, your whole life in a minute. No pressure at all. Totally.
Wait, so it's actually 60 seconds?
Oh, it's actually 60 seconds. Like, I'm going to hold you to this.
All right. Okay. All right. I'm ready.
My cracked iPhone screen. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right. Here we go.
Okay. My name is Jason SweetTooth Williams. I am from the East Coast. I was born in Connecticut and raised there as well. I was very interested in many things as a kid, theater being one of them, and turned out to be the main thing that interested me. When I was old enough to go to college, I ended up going to Emerson College in Boston, where I studied acting and musical theater and all sorts of things like that. And came to New York City trying to make it in that world. Wow, I just skipped I went from 0 to 18 to 22. I'm at 22. Oh my God. And so then I moved to the city and I started my career. I was very interested in musical theater and making new musicals, working on new roles was like my big thing. I thankfully met my dear friend Joe Iconis, and he and I have been partners in crime since then. I'm married now. I live in Queens. I have 2 children, and I'm very proud of them. And I'm happy to get past this pandemic into the new world.
Amazing.
I just said new world like I was discovering America. I'm ready to get to the new world. Well,
that's how you feel.
Here we are.
I feel like everybody keeps using that jargon, like the new world, and I'm like, are we
explorers? No, it's the same old world. Same old world. It just feels
because we have a shot in our arm now, it's like our whole world has changed.
Absolutely. It's an important shot.
Yeah. It's the important
we
shot.
were celebrating big time.
Yeah, good. Me too.
So grateful for that thing.
Yeah.
So growing up in Connecticut, you said, right?
Yeah. So I just gave you, like I guess everyone does, but that was a crazy snapshot of my life.
So now growing up, I guess, how did you sort of stumble into the arts?
Well, my mother was always very musical, and she used to teach like music therapy to children in need. And that was sort of a thing that I realized there was power there to music and to what music can do for the release of mental illness and relief from mental illness and how it empowers children suffering from that sort of thing. So I was always sort of into that. And there was a lot of music in my life as a kid and growing up. But I was really into the saxophone. I played the saxophone as a kid, and I was just really into music in general. And that sort of started to intertwine with this idea that I could maybe also stand on a stage in front of people. And I was really fortunate, actually, as a kid. I lived not far from the Goodspeed Opera House, which is a regional theater in Connecticut. And I was in a show there as the local kid when I was 10 years old. And it was Here's Love, which is the Meredith Willson Miracle on 34th Street musical. And I played a young boy who wanted a Christmas toy. But it was an amazing experience. And I worked with Jan Maxwell was in that cast and all these crazy people. And I didn't know it at the time, but these were preeminent, actors in the world. and I always was like, I want to get back to that standard of person and of performer. Even though I was only like 10 at the time, I felt like I knew there was something going on there for me and also for them, and I was hooked early on in that way. But I don't know. I think I got into Sondheim early. It was my gateway drug, I think, into musical theater, and I was like super obsessed with the Into the Woods Great Performances PBS video, which I like wore out on my VCR, and also the Sunday in the Park with George video, and so I was just very like inspired by that, and decided I was gonna like have a go of it. I didn't know at the time how impossibly hard it can be. The world of this musical theater life can be, but I think because I didn't know that, it didn't deter me. And now that I do know that, I have no regrets, and it's been a wonderful journey.
That's incredible. I love this sort of origin story with your mom and sort of finding it that way. That's so cool. And the Into the Woods PBS recording is perfect.
I mean, it's as classic as a thing could be.
I was literally forcing my friend to watch it last night. She was like, I've only ever seen the movie. I'm like, no,
You
no,
watched it last night?
I watched it last night.
Oh, this is perfect. Oh my God.
Amazing.
Wow.
So I'm really curious because I feel like you must get this question all the time. How did the Sweet Tooth come about?
I had a feeling that was going to come up. You know, it's when I was younger, I was very into when I say younger, I mean like high school younger. I was very into like rap and spoken word and poetry and that sort of thing, and I I started to like write things and perform them at like parties for my friends and things, and essentially it was like my rap name. And so then when I went to college, I would like go to over to friends' houses at college and sort of freestyle for everybody and talk about the situation and my friends and all that. And so the nickname sort of stuck there. Um, and as I got older, it kept coming around, and people just were calling me Sweet Tooth. And when I joined Actors Equity, which is the actors union, there was already a Jason Williams in the union, and you have to have a unique singular name. And so I asked the woman if I could have Jason Sweet Tooth be my official name. And she said, yeah, if that's like what you actually want to do. And I said, that is what I actually want to do. And it's been that way ever since. And I keep waiting for somebody to be like, hey, you're 40 years old. Like when is that gonna like phase out? And I'm just not ready to let it go. So for now, it is my rap name and will forever be my rap name.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's so cool, so unique.
Yeah, I mean, I like it, and if nothing else, at least people, it starts a conversation. So it's
Definitely good icebreaker.
it is a good icebreaker. But now sometimes people are like, okay, well, rap for me then, like what? Which I'm like not as into
You're
anymore.
like, no, you're not understanding how this came
But,
about.
yeah, but it's cool. I like it, so I'm sticking with it.
That's awesome. So now you ended up being a part of the off-Broadway and Broadway cast of Be More Chill. So how did you book that? Like, what was your audition story?
Well, it was actually really kind of non-traditional, I would say, because I worked with Joe Iconis for years and years. I met him in like 2004, and he and I were like fast friends early when I first met him, and we were sort of collaborators before we were friends. And I was cast in his thesis musical when he was in grad school, and so I met him that way. And I was always like this huge fan of his right from the start because I just think he's the best. And from that, our friendship evolved just from time spent together and having like-minded goals in life and thoughts about the world and musical theater. And so anyway, I had this history with Joe, and I worked on a bunch of stuff with him over his career and in my career. And there was actually an earlier workshop of Be More Chill prior to the Two River production, which is the sort of the production that then launched the whole thing, the whole sort of phenomenon of it. And which I was not in that production, but I was in an early workshop of that production. And playing Mr. Hare and Mr. Reyes. And I loved the piece. Obviously, like I was a huge fan of it, and I think it was pretty clear at that time. This was maybe what 2015, 16. I don't even remember now. But even that sort of distance from now, I was a bit younger, and I think it was like not realistic that I would be anybody's father, and like a teenager's father. Um, and so that and just I wasn't able to be a part of the Two River production, and so I was bummed about that. But I was like a huge fan of it. I saw it multiple times at Two River, and then there slowly started to be this like percolating like buzz about Be More Chill on the internet. And I remember being like at a bar with Joe one night, and him being like, "Hey, this is like so weird, but people are starting to like make fan art for Be More Chill, and there's like all this like online stuff happening for Be More Chill, and I feel like it's like a thing." And then the album streams just started to like go through the roof on Spotify, and he had this like property now that was like this thing he didn't know what to do with. And so anyway, that's sort of how it went from that to off Broadway. People were finally interested and were like, "Hey, this is a thing." And I said to him, I said, "Listen, I am older now, and also Joe doesn't like cast all the shows. There's many people that make those decisions, but I said, whatever I need to do, I want to be a part of this show, and I want to play that role. I think I can bring something to it, and I will do whatever I have to do." And it worked out. Paul Whitty, who's the actor who played it at Two River, who's a fantastic actor and who I've known now for some years. He happened to be working on another project at the time, and so I kind of just slipped right in there. So I actually didn't have like a, a traditional audition for the show. I actually I also knew the director. I'd worked with him on a previous project, and so I think my name kind of got tossed around a little bit until everyone was like, "Okay, yeah, that seems good." And it was a little intimidating coming in because the show at this point was now a thing, and most of the cast, not all of it, but most of the cast was from that original production, and I wanted to fit into the vibe, and I knew a lot of them externally, but coming into that off Broadway thing was like stepping into Disney World or some kind of crazy like magical thing that I hoped I could do justice to. So I was really thrilled, and it changed my life, really.
Yeah, absolutely. That's such a cool kind of hop into it way, like how to get into it. That's wild.
Well, I think the lesson of that story is that really what I think with acting and in theater and probably anything you do, what gets you ahead in the world is like your connection to other people. And I think if you are someone that people want to be around and work with, um, it pays off dividends in the end, And so I just think you always have to remember that this person who I'm meeting now might be someone that I will get to be in a room with 5 years down the line. And so I better bring my best self to them and offer my best self for what they want to bring to it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. That's excellent advice. I think it spans across all professions.
Yeah, right? Yeah, I really do. Likewise.
So I guess coming into that off-Broadway production, like you said, Be More Chill sort of blew up. I mean, I'm sure that there came a lot of pressure with that. What would you say was sort of the most challenging aspect of stepping into the show?
Well, there was a shorthand about the show that some of the performers already had that I was nervous, like I said, to sort of step into. But it very quickly was like, Stephen Brackett, the director, and Joe Iconis and Joe Trace, who wrote the book, everyone was like, this is going to be a new production. We're going to take this thing that we know and love, and we're going to amplify the parts that we feel deserve to be amplified, and we're going to rework the parts that we feel like didn't work so well. So it very quickly became a new production. And I think even for the people that were there, Lauren and Katie and George and Stephanie and all these people that were there, and Gerard, they also were suddenly learning new stuff and new choreography and new blocking and new scenes and new songs. And so it very quickly became this thing that we were all doing together, which put me at ease, obviously, and just became a lightning in a bottle sort of situation where we were all just brainstorming and coming up with new ideas, and felt very fresh and fun.
Yeah, definitely. So now on the flip side, what would you say was the most rewarding part?
Well, I've had many fortunate things happen to me in my life and in my career, and I'm really, I can look back on some great accomplishments and be thankful for them. But I never in my life imagined what the reception to Be More Chill would be from the fans of Be More Chill. I never experienced the very first preview that we did off Broadway. As soon as the lights dimmed, it was like screaming, like like a Beatles concert or like Elvis or some kind of crazy like thing that I never could have imagined. And um, from that moment until we closed on Broadway, the fans of Be More Chill have been the absolute best part about it. I mean, the 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 reception that they gave us, and the connection that they felt to the show and to all of us, it just felt so genuine and important. We would meet people after the show, and the stage door became this like crazy thing, who really genuinely like were moved by the show, and the show like sort of changed their lives in a lot of ways, and made them feel more seen and more accepted, or gave them courage, or just gave them something to like give them some joy while they went through a hard time. And I felt like there was a real responsibility at some point from all of us to impart this show to the people that were being touched by it in that way. And I would say, like, particularly, people, young people, and young LGBTQ plus and trans people, trans kids, and there was a message there about acceptance that I think they hadn't seen in such a like public way, that they really responded to, and was just like the most rewarding part of it for me, and I think for many of us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think seeing Be More Chill was one of those shows for me. Like, as I started becoming more into theater, I just seeing the reception of the theater community to that show was just so profound. Like, it was just such a resounding response, and it must have been so cool to get to be a part of that.
It was, and I also think Joe's music, Joe Iconis's music, has a certain effect on people too. He's one of these like songwriters that um, can put a song in front of you that you think is going to be one thing, and starts off as that thing, and then flips itself on its head. And I think, as a songwriter, I think people just are like respond to him in such a visceral way, and get hooked to him and his material. And so that was also an amazing part, to be able to like deliver some of that material.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And you've mentioned you've worked with Joe quite a bit through the years.
Yeah.
So I guess, what experiences with him have sort of stood out for you? What about his writing has resonated with you especially?
Well, I think when I left college, I was a little, I wasn't positive that I wanted to be a musical theater actor. I wanted to be an actor, but I felt a little bit like, is this really for me? Is this my style? Um, and when I met Joe, and I heard the Black Suits was the piece that I was in with him early on, of his, and I just, there was something about it where I was like, I get this guy, and his material speaks to me as like, as a person. I just feel like I respond to the vibe, and to the like I said, the sort of creative songwriting and the crafting of the material. I thought he was super smart, and I respected him in that way. And I think he's also hilarious. And so we just like vibed, I think, early on. And so um, throughout my entire career with him, which is like intrinsically linked to him, I feel like he's always stretching himself as an artist, and so it's forcing me to stretch myself as an artist. And so it's been a nice. Um, he's been my touchstone as I've grown older, as a person, as an artist, to like see what I can do, and see what I can bring to the table for him, because I want to like live up to what he's working on. But as far as particular projects, you know, there's so many things. I mean, the Black Suits, I really was like a foundation for me as a piece, because I felt like That was a show, and for people that don't know what it is, it's like a garage band. It's a story of a garage band in Long Island, and it's like four young guys who are like trying to like win the battle of the bands. And that's the simplified version of it. But I played the drummer of the band, and he was this sort of like misunderstood young guy who wasn't maybe always as respected as the other guys. He felt like a little bit of a loner in the band, and I don't know. It spoke to me as a person at that time, and so that is like a piece for me that I've anchored in, and then many other things since. But Blood Song of Love was a piece that he wrote. It was a rock and roll spaghetti western musical, and we did it at Ars Nova, and it just felt like this real statement about being an artist and staying true to yourself and creating the art that you want to create with the people that you want to create it. And it remains for me a sort of high watermark, artistically and emotionally, and cemented, I think, for me our relationship as friends and collaborators, and made me say like, whatever this person creates or asks me to do, I will be there. Like I know that in my heart that this is like the type of art that I want to make, and I want to make it with this guy and other people, but of course. But I would like drop whatever I'm doing if Joe was like, "Come sing the song." I am there.
That's incredible. It's so cool that you get to work with someone so closely when you relate to his material so much. I think that must make it super easy to do your job, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's very rewarding for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess sort of reflecting on your work with Joe, how would you say that your performance has like performance? Wow, that's a word. Has like grown through the years as you've gotten to work with him more, and like how your sort of craft, I guess, has developed through the years.
Yeah, like I said, I think he's also always growing as an artist, and so he's challenging himself to write more complex characters and more complex music, and not like complex for being complex sake, but just like more deeply thought out uh, moments and dramatic moments in life, and he's exploring those in a new way. So I feel like we're always like together um, in like he's going to put something in front of me, and I'll say, can I rise to that occasion? He gives, and he'll say this too, but he really celebrates people in life that are often marginalized or made to feel less than or weird or outcasts. And um, I know what it's like to feel that way. And so I think I've grown as an artist because I am able to explore parts of myself through his art that that then reveal themselves, hopefully, in what I create. So um, every time there's a new song that I get to work on, it's something that hopefully is revealing something in myself, and and makes me better as a performer.
Yeah, absolutely. So now switching gears, before we started filming, we were chatting beforehand and we were talking about ASL and about that I was going to become an interpreter when I'm older. And you were mentioning a production that you did that utilized ASL. So can you tell us about that experience?
Well, yeah, I also worked. I've worked in many theaters over the years as like an usher and as a house manager. I've sort of done like a million jobs in theaters, and I've seen many shows that have like a special night for the deaf community where they have ASL interpreters, just down on the lip of the stage, um, signing the whole show. And to be able to like see them do it. Actually, the most kind of impressive thing I saw was uh, what was the production? It was oh the Robber Bridegroom. There was a production like a couple years ago that Roundabout did of this musical from the '70s called Robber Bridegroom, with Stephen Pasquale and like all these amazing people. But they were rehearsing the show, and they're like signing many characters at once. It's three signers, and to see them interpret the material, with their faces and their hands is a really amazing thing. And I think for any actor or any artist to see that, it really reminds you that there are many ways to express yourself that don't involve your voice and or your ears. And so it's just a really amazing thing to see. And I've done a couple performances of shows with ASL performers down on the lip of the stage. And the only tricky thing about it is that it's so impressive to me that I want to stop and watch it, because it's just an amazing thing. And I also my brother for years and years was with a girlfriend who taught at the American School for the Deaf, and so there was just like a lot of ASL. I felt like in my life at a certain point, and so I just think it's an amazing skill, and
Me too.
especially yeah, and it's one thing to interpret, say, a speech, a political speech or something, which is also impressive, but interpreting music, I think, is a really special gift, and it's just a fantastic thing. And I was fortunate enough to see the Deaf West production of Spring Awakening, as I was telling you. And actually, that was my first foray into Spring Awakening. So I kind of only know it as a show that is deaf interpreted for the deaf. And I just thought that show in particular just felt so moving in that way, and being told by mostly deaf performers. I think that production was, and so it's a really cool thing. I'm glad you're a part of that world. You're
Yeah,
saying that you're a
and knowing from
translator, or
experience, like from signing songs, because I've done that as projects, that in itself is not an easy task. Even if I do 32 bars of a song that I'm signing, there's so much prep work that has to go into it.
right? Sure.
As I'm becoming more fluent, it's a lot. So the fact that people can interpret a show, an entire show, 20 minutes on, 20 minutes off, is very impressive.
Yeah, no, it's very
Crazy.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for you for doing that too.
Oh, thank you. And I just think it's so cool that you've been able to see shows with that. And I love that there are shows where interpreters come and it's a deaf-friendly performance, which is, I think, incredible.
Yeah, for sure.
I love seeing the sort of future of theater, this stuff that we're starting to see in this art form that is becoming so revolutionary, and it's incredible to see. So many mad props to you too, Jesse. I could definitely not sign a whole song. It takes so much expression.
Not easy. That's where my actor skills come into play, the expression side of it.
So cool.
So now, sort of talking about, the elephant in the room, there's this little global pandemic thing that we all went through. Sort of the whole world of theater shut down, kind of tragic. So I guess, what have you been up to throughout the past year, and how has this pandemic sort of shaped how you look at the arts, I suppose?
Yeah, that's a huge question. There's a lot of stuff there.
Just packing it all in one.
Right. No, it's great. I was fortunate enough that my parents live nearby, still in Connecticut, where I grew up, as I mentioned in that first 60 seconds. And so early in the pandemic, I spent some time there with my wife and kids, and it felt very bizarre to be removed from my home, but also in a safe place, but also, like all of us, just trying to find out what was next. The weird thing about being a theater artist is that not only were people losing their jobs, but the entire industry was gone. And so, being an actor or a theater person is hard enough in the best of times, because rejection is sort of part of your life. But there's always the hope that you're going to get the next job or the next opportunity. And so to have that completely removed was very depressing, and disheartening. Luckily, I think the theater community in particular, because we were all wounded by this moment in history, came together and really was looking for ways to create art on the internet and Zoom and all these things, which some were more satisfying than others. to be a part of and to watch. But there was still this sense of like, we will not let this die. Like, we will not let our spirit die, and we will not let this art form die. And I think also theater is about telling stories ultimately, and storytelling is an age old idea. You know, from cave drawings to now, there's like this need, this human need to tell a story. And so I feel like there was no there's no part of this that could have stopped that human necessity to share. And so that kind of kept me going. And you know, the news that Broadway was going to start reopening and all that was very exciting, but it's also weird because, you know, just because something reopens doesn't mean that you get to be a part of it. I mean, you can go watch it, but as an actor, you're like, I'm happy for all my friends that are about to be in shows, but I'm not reopening a show right now. And so it comes with its own sense of like, oh, what am I going to do now that it's like I don't have this like COVID, not excuse, but this COVID backdrop to my career now to start navigating in the same way. So I don't know. I mean, tricky, but I'm excited for the future of it all. And I also will say, you know, we lost a lot of people to it. There really were a lot of theater people, obviously many people in the world from all walks of life, but there were a lot of theater people that died from this disease. And, you know, they should be mourned and remembered. You know, I think it's kind of exciting when Broadway comes back, but I think it should also give us pause to say, but we now don't have this person in the community to come back either. So it's sad. You know, it was a really sort of terrible moment in history, but hopefully if we can encourage people to keep getting vaccinated and doing what they need to stop the thing, we can actually come back.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess what would you say is your favorite non-Be More Chill project that you've been a part of?
I have a few. I mean, many things that I loved doing. One thing I did shortly before Be More Chill was a musical version of Benny and June, which is a movie from the '90s. You two probably don't remember it, but it was a Johnny Depp movie about a guy who, this like kind of weirdo stranger guy played by Johnny Depp, who comes into the lives of this brother and sister who are older, and she's suffering from mental illness. And anyway, Johnny Depp kind of comes in and shakes up their world. So I did this musical version of it, and I played this like mechanic at the garage where the brother worked. And I just loved the material. I loved the music, and it was such a beautiful story. Um, but one of the most exciting parts about it is the guy who played the Johnny Depp character was an actor named Bryce Pinkham, who, you know, was nominated for a Tony for Gentleman's Guide, and he's about my age, and he was one of these actors that I was so thrilled to get a chance to work with, and he lived up to every moment of that for me. And he was someone in rehearsal who always like tried new things and was really receptive to you trying new things. And he and I had some fun moments together. And so I feel like artistically that was very satisfying for me. I also got to work on the original productions of Freaky Friday for Disney. And that was just a blast. You know, the music was fantastic. Heidi Blickenstaff, who played, the main woman, Catherine, and Emma Hunton, who played Ellie. The two leads were like amazing to be with, and such talents. And I got to travel the country a little bit with my newly born daughter and wife, and I don't know, that was a really sort of special time for us. And working on a new musical for Disney, it just felt like a really sort of like exciting moment in life, and it was great.
Amazing. Freaky Friday has such a great cast album too.
It's so good, right? It's
so
like,
good.
I love it.
It's so good. I think I heard it for the first time like a couple years back, and I was just like, How have I never heard this before? It's so good.
Yeah. Like it's all bops. It's all fun songs, and like the vocal performances are insane. Heidi and Emma particularly are just like, um, you know, like off the charts. And actually, Alan Green, who's also on that album as an actor, was in this show that I got to write with Joe Iconis, and he was one of he was our leading man, and so like the world meshed together in this moment, and I'm like his biggest fan.
Oh my God, that's such a cool full circle type moment.
Yeah, exactly.
So I didn't know that you wrote on Broadway Bounty Hunter. So what was that sort of like? How'd you get into that sphere?
Yeah, well, so Joe and our friend Lance Rubin, who's also a writer, we've known each other for years from that Black Suits reading years and years ago. We were all in that together, and we've been good friends since then. And we were kind of hanging out one night. We were performing at a benefit, and we were huge fans of Annie Golden, who was also in that Black Suits reading, and she plays Norma on Orange is the New Black, and she was the original genie in the movie Hair. She's like had this like long storied career, but anyway, we were like huge fans of hers, and we thought, wouldn't it be awesome if she was like this action hero? Because she's like this like really um, fiery, amazing woman from Brooklyn, and she's just like got this like energy and this like punk vibe that we just love. And so we started writing this treatment of a show sort of for her that ended up becoming more than a joke, and it ended up like sort of becoming a real thing that we wanted to work on. Um, and over the years, we were starting to work on it at some regional theaters, and we had this like thing. And luckily, the stars aligned, and we were able to do it off Broadway last year or 2019. And yeah, so that part of the process was crazy because I was also doing Be More Chill at the time. So I was wearing my actor hat at night and my writer hat in the day, and it was pretty dreamy. It was a nice time to be with my friends and making new musicals, and it was very cool.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So I guess kind of wrapping up, if you had to give one piece of advice to your past self, what would that be?
To my past self. Well, this is something I've sort of discovered as my life has gone on. Um, so maybe I realized parts of this already as my young self, but I think that there's no right way to be an artist, you know, and probably as a person, but there's no path that you have to take to succeed. There's such a pressure, I think, especially on musical theater actors, to be like, I'm young and I want to be on Broadway, or I want to do this thing, and if that doesn't happen for you immediately, it feels disappointing, you know. But there are so many avenues to create, to sing, to perform, and so to not worry about carving a specific path, but let the path kind of carve itself. And I've discovered that as I've gotten older, but I feel like in my younger days, I was stressed about like, I have to do. How am I going to do this? I have to do this. But turns out I was already doing it, and to just like let yourself um, be in the moment in your life. And I also heard this piece of advice from Philip Seymour Hoffman, who's like one of my favorite actors ever, to like never turn down an opportunity to be an actor. And I don't think that even means necessarily a job, but I just think whatever being an actor means to you, whether it's you know exploring a new character or showing up on time for something or whatever, like being an actor is, to always try to be the best version of that um, for yourself. And I think I just love that advice because there are so many opportunities in life where we're like, oh, I don't feel like it today, I'm tired, or I'm busy, or something. But if you remind yourself that this is an opportunity to do the thing that you love, then you should do it 100%. And I think that's like something I could have told myself earlier when I was a little less responsible in life. But it all worked out, and here I am. So younger self, always be acting and don't stress too much.
That is very accurate and a really wonderful compliment. Jason, thank you so much for taking the time today. We cannot tell you how much we appreciate it. It's been so incredible to get to talk to you. Seriously, thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. Like, it's great.
Yeah, we loved having you on. And to connect with Jason on Instagram, follow at Jason SweetTooth, where you can keep up to date on his latest projects. Be sure to follow Theatrical Thoughts at Theatrical Thoughts Podcast on Instagram as well.
Thank you so much for listening. Follow all the things. And thank you for listening, and we will see you in the next one.
Bye.
Take care. Thank you so much.